Good afternoon, everyone. Hello and welcome to the ClearTax webinar on GSTR-9 filing through the ClearTax software solution. Now, as you know, we've been doing a big series on GSTR-9 here at ClearTax, and we've done a couple of videos explaining the filing flow of GSTR-9 using the ClearTax solution. We are doing this again because we have heard feedback from users, and we've heard a lot of suggestions that the users have given us, and we made changes to our software basis those suggestions. We've only improved our tool over the last month or so. And we believe, given that now the deadline is August 30th, and this is the last month to go before we hit the deadline, we thought we should do another session with the users, walking the users through the new GSTR-9 filing flow on ClearTax. Now, before I get into the product, a quick recap about GSTR-9. Right. So GSTR-9, as most of you would be aware, is the annual return that normal taxpayers have to file under the GST regime. Now, for the year 2017-2018, which was from July 17 to March 18 under the GST regime, the GSTR-9 was supposed to be filed on 31st December 2018 as per the original act. Now, the date has been extended a few times, but now the date as things stand today is 31st August of 2019, which is at the end of this month. And given the amount of time it takes to prepare GSTR-9 and file it, we believe that we as software providers have to do our bit to simplify the experience of preparing and filing GSTR-9. So that's what we've been working on. We believe that we have a software solution that makes it a lot more quicker for someone to prepare and file GSTR-9. B, ensures accuracy in terms of having enough checks and balances in place so that you can quickly, while you're quickly preparing GSTR-9, you're also able to ensure that whatever is being sent to the government is correct. Now, why is that important? Because GSTR-9, unless most other returns in GST, can never be amended. So once it is filed, it is frozen. And we've seen some more incidents of crackdown on GST evasion and GST issues by the government. And we believe that there could be notices underway if someone makes a mistake or an error and has an issue in the GSTR-9. So we've created a lot of accuracy checks within our GSTR-9 software to ensure that accuracy of the GSTR-9 prepared is also fully checked before you go ahead and file. Now, let's go right into the product. Right. So if you open the website of ClearTax, this is where you will end up after you log in. You will get a list of all the clients that you have added on the ClearTax website. There, if you go into the returns button here, you can get into GSTR-9. Now, when you click on GSTR-9, it will take you to a screen where you can start filing GSTR-9. Now, this screen also talks about the different value adds that we have. We prepare GSTR-9 using file GST returns. We have a checklist, as I pointed out, which ensures accuracy. We do comparisons between different kinds of GST returns that you filed. You can do comparison with books as well. And of course, if you have 9C available, 9C to be filed along with GSTR-9, then we enable you to migrate information from 9 to 9C so that 9C can also be filed accurately. This page also has a guide here that you can access at any point of time. This is a PDF guide for you to read. There is also a video guide here for you to go through a video on YouTube, which you can pause and watch at your own pace. Now, the first step in preparing GSTR-9 is to download data from the government portal. Now, we've enabled two different ways to download data. One way, which is a new way that we've enabled recently, is the ClearTax Companion App. So right on the homepage, you will see a button here to download and install the ClearTax Companion App for desktop. Now, once you click on it, it will start downloading the Excel file, the executable file, which you can install on your laptop. Once you do this installation, you can log in on that portal and you will see a very similar screen as you see on the ClearTax website, where you will see all your clients listed down. You will see whether the data is available on the system for those clients or not across GSTR-1, GSTR-2A, GSTR-3B, and whether the client is GSTR-9 ready or not. So if all returns from July 17 to March 19 across 1, 2, and 3B are all downloaded on the system, then we put this flag as yes. So if you can see here, it is yes, and here it is no. Now, how do you go and actually download using the desktop solution? So there is an option here called request GST portal to generate data. So when you click on this request GST portal, it will ask for username and password on the GST portal when you log in. Now, if you've already entered the username and password on the ClearTax application on Chrome or any other browser, then those username and password details will automatically get carried on here. Now, when you click on login, it will connect you to the GST portal and it will show a captcha here. Now that captcha can then, when you enter that captcha, a request will be placed to the GST portal to download all the files pertaining to GSTR-9. So I'm just, see, we just got the captcha. We will just enter that captcha here and we'll submit. Now this will, okay, it was a mistake, but when you enter the valid captcha, it will go to the GST portal. It will generate, trigger the generation of all GST returns from 1, 2A, 3B across July 17 to March 19 return periods, and it will download that data on your desktop and upload that directly onto ClearTax. So when you go to ClearTax, all that data will be available and GSTR-9 will be readily generated. Now, what happens when GSTR-9 is generated? Let me go here. Just 1 second. So for this particular client, ABC Private Limited, the Chhattisgarh GSTN, we have already downloaded data. So we will just show you how that looks. So when you've already downloaded data, this screen will open up. Now this will have an option to prepare GSTR-9 here or an option to import GSTR-9 Excel. I will come back to the import GSTR-9 option in a little while. But when you prepare GSTR-9, when you click on this, you will see that the data has been downloaded. It will show the data is available for all the return periods that is applicable for GSTR-9 preparation for 17-18. Now, if you want to get into details, you can always click on view here and say GSTR-1 is downloaded all the way till from July 17 to Jan 19. In this particular case, Feb and March 19, there were no returns to be filed, and therefore these return files are not available for this period. Now, once you come here, you will see a summary. That summary shows the net tax payable calculation. What is net tax payable? Net tax payable is all the tax that you have declared as payable for FY 17-18 in your GSTR-9 form, minus the tax that you've already paid in the in 17-18 or 18-19 pertaining to that period. Now, this net tax payable calculation is the most critical calculation in GSTR-9 because this is the tax that you now have to pay using DRC-03. Of course, the tax can only be paid using a cash ledger and not the credit ledger. So this is the tax that you now need to go and discharge using DRC-03 on the portal and then go ahead and file. Now we of course want to get into details, right, of how this particular tax was calculated. So you can click next here. And here you will see other options also enabled. We have a sales and purchase summary option. Now, some of you would want to calculate GSTR-9 using books directly, right? What are the sales that are there in the books? What are the purchase there in the books? And use that to compare what the GSTR-9 values are. So we've enabled two different ways to do this. One is the total. So there is a summary tab here. So you can just enter the total summary of sales and purchase here. So this is a editable field. So if you want to say that actually your sales in 17-18 were 5 lakh, you can just write 5 lakh here and press enter. Whenever you make any changes, that field will be highlighted and you will get a save option. Now, when you click on the save option, it will save that new summary on the ClearTax portal. Now, this will impact the certain checklist items, the accuracy items that we built in. We'll come to that in a minute. The other option is that you can import sales and purchase books in detail. Now, this is when you can import 12 months or the entire financial year's books for the period July 17 to March 18 in detail using the ClearTax Excel or the Tally Excel or the Busy Excel, whichever Excel that you want to use. When you do it, we have also enabled a computation of GSTR-1 versus sales books reconciliation. Now, this is a feature that has recently been launched. And again, one of the features that we were requested for by a lot of our users. Now, if you're aware, if you use ClearTax already, you know that we have a very robust module to compare purchase books with GSTR-2A. Now, a lot of users had used that module and they said that we want something similar for sales books versus GSTR-1. So we've recently launched this. If you upload all your sales books on ClearTax using this option, then GSTR-1 versus sales books reconciliation Excel is available. So you can download this report. When you download, it'll download an Excel file. And when you download that Excel file, you can open it here. Now this uses the macro. So you'll need to enable macros and follow the directions on the screen. So the first direction was to click OK to get the macro to start working. So we just did that. And you'll see at the bottom that we've categorized this into 4 sheets. What are the 4 sheets? There are 4 kinds of invoices when you match GSTR-1 with sales books. There are invoices that completely match between 1 and sales books. There are invoices that partly match. There's something that could be an issue. It could be that, hey, the taxable amount is not the same between the same invoice for R1 and books. It could be the taxable date is not the same. It could be the tax value is not the same. All of those things, when they differ from R1 to books, we put them in the mismatch bucket. Now there are 2 other fields, 2 other sections. One section says that if you have the invoice in R1, but you don't have it in the books, then we will put it in the missing in sales books category. And when you have an invoice which is there in the books but not in R1, then we will put it in the missing in GSTR-1 category. Now all of this categorization is triggered by pressing this big button here. So you can press the button of start invoice matching. Now we created macros that will bifurcate your sales into these 4 sheets. Now while that macro runs, it is important for us to note that this is a very important exercise while filing GSTR-9 and preparing for GSTR-9C. Because people, when they look at a summary comparison of sales versus sales register versus GSTR-1, they sometimes see a difference of, let's say, 10,000 rupees. But for anyone filing 9 and 9C, they should be drilling down at an invoice level to see where did that 10,000 come from. Was it an invoice where 10,000 was additionally reported? Was it an invoice where 10,000 was missed out? Was it 5 invoices where 2,000 each was missed out? Whatever it is, that invoice level detail is very important for us to consider. So when we built this, we've given 4 options. You can go to these respective sheets. For example, missing in sales books, you will see there are certain invoices that are there in GSTR-1, but missing in the sales books of accounts. So we put them all in one sheet. Then matched invoices would be where the invoice data matches exactly between R1 and books. Missing in GSTR-1 will be data or invoices or even credit debit notes which are present in the books of accounts but not present in R1. And lastly, mismatch GSTR-1 versus books will tell you where are there invoices that have some detail differing between the ones that you put in R1 and what you put in the books. Whatever is the real reason for difference will come in this cell L auto-populated. We also have an option where you can export these 4 invoice sheets into CSV files, which can be downloaded and then, if required, shared with the clients or shared with the accounting team so that they can go through these details at their own office and see how what changes to make between R1 and books. So this is a new feature that we've launched, ladies and gentlemen. The next thing that we would like to speak to you about is like here, once you've done this invoice reconciliation, etc., you can go next. Now, when you go to next here, you will see the feature that we've received a lot of sort of positive feedback about, which is our checklist. Now, what does the checklist do? The checklist, ladies and gentlemen, is an option that we've enabled, which does 19 different checks on the data that you put in to see whether there is a potential issue in the GSTR-9 that you're filing. Now, this checklist does not necessarily, all these 19 checks need not necessarily be equal. There might be an issue that you're fully aware of, which is causing a difference, but it is important for us. When we were building this product, we believe it was important for us to make the user aware that these are potential issues that could come up. What are these potential issues? So we've categorized them into important observations and additional observations. Important observations would be a difference between GST liability payable and paid. Now, if you want to figure out how do we get this, there is this I here. You can click on the I, and you will get a difference. You'll get an explanation on how is that calculated. So it is the difference here. In this case, it's a difference between A and B, where A is liability shown in GSTR-9. How do you show liability? You total output supply liability, which is table 5N, plus 10 minus 11. Added to that, the total liability emerging out of inward RCM supply, which is table 4G. So if you add 5N, 4G, 10 and 11, you get liability as per GSTR-9. Now, in the B in the calculation of A minus B is that liability that you have paid, the tax liability that you discharged. Now that will come from taxes paid figures in table 9 and 14 of GSTR-9. So when you make these two, you do a difference of A minus B, you get the difference between tax liability payable and paid. What we've additionally done is we have put a checklist or a way of solving this particular mismatch here. So you can click on this link. It will open the image in a larger sort of font, and there you can see if there was short payment, which is liability was greater than tax paid. You should check if liability has been correctly reported. If not, reduce the liability reporting depending on whether you want to reduce it in table 4 if it was reduced in 1718 itself, or table 11 when it was actually reduced in 1819. If there was short payment, then you might have actually have paid taxes in GSTR 3B of FY 1819. In that case, reflect those in table 14 in GSTR 9. And if you've not paid the taxes in 1819 as well, then there are taxes to be paid, which you can pay using DRC 03. So for each of these checklist items, we have given a drill down of where the calculation is coming from and where there is a mismatch. And whenever there is a mismatch, we are given options that we have commonly seen users adopt, or issues that we have commonly seen users face, so that users are also helped in terms of finding out how to exactly solve this particular mismatch that is coming in. Now, there are 5 of these important observations. There's difference in GST liability payable and paid. There's difference in liability as per books and GSTR-9. This will show up if you input books. Now, on the previous page, we input, like if you go to details here, on the previous page, when we entered sales and purchase summary, we input a cess liability of 20,000 rupees. And while we've actually paid GST liability of 2.4 lakhs, that's a liability that is shown in GSTR-9. As a result, there is a difference coming here. Now, when you input the right books, when you import the right books, this will be calculated again. Then there's difference in ITC claimed in 3B and shown in GSTR-9. And there's difference in ITC claimed as per books. Again, when you import books either at a summary level or at a detail level, this checklist item will also become active. And then difference in declaration of tax liability in GSTR-9. And there are other options, other additional observations as well that we put on this page. Now you will see 2 color codes. In the issues column, you will see orange color issues found and green color data matched. So when there is a data matched highlighted in green color, at that time we have found no discrepancy at all between the 2 figures that we are comparing. So in that case, it is likely to be correct. Now, in issues found where we see any difference, there's no materiality threshold here. Any difference that we see between these 2 figures that we are comparing, we will put that, we will highlight that issues found cell, and we will write issues found here. This view more option will help you see the audit trail or the calculation trail for why this has appeared. So if you click on view more here, you will see the difference between payable and paid, and we've identified what is payable and what is paid as per the GSTR-9 form available to us. This is an important feature that we put on the user interface. We've also given an option for you to download the form for 9 and 9C using the Excel file. So you can download an Excel file here. Now, when you download the Excel file, it opens up. Give 1 second. Yeah. So again, this has macros as well. So you will need to enable macros. Now this will open up the ClearTax GSTR-9 Excel. Now there are guidelines on the first page, which talk about how you can use this Excel. There is a table of contents, and you can use this to migrate to various sheets. Um, this is the checklist. Now the checklist that appears on the user interface, exactly the same checklist also appears on the Excel file. Now here we were seeing on the user interface, we were seeing a 1 rupee and 8 paisa differential on IGST. There is the same differential available here. Now we've given the breakup right here on Excel, where liability is as per table 4 and 10 and 11. Taxes paid is as per 9 and 14, and you will see the difference here. Now, if you want to understand where this is coming from, you can go to this sheet, and we will show you this is where the form is. This is exactly the same copy of the form that is there on the user interface. You will see where we are getting the figure in table 4 from, where we're getting figure in table 10, 11, 5, whichever table that you're looking at. All of those tables, you will see the answer, the calculation trail on the Excel here. Now you can work on the Excel right here. So if you, for example, have done your calculation separately, then and you want to just enter a figure, let's say there were deemed exports of 1 lakh rupees, then you can enter 1 lakh right here, and the calculation will change fully. Now when this calculation changes and you're working on the Excel, you would like to upload that Excel back onto ClearTax. Now there, as I showed you right at the front, we get an option. When you go to GSTR-9, the first thing that you get an option of importing GSTR-9 Excel. Now, when you save that Excel, you can click on import Excel, and you will get an option to import the same Excel with the calculations that you have done onto ClearTax. Now we import everything on the form, the original form, the HSN summaries for both outward and inward supplies. Now, all of that work you can do outside the Excel if you want, and then import it. Excel continues to have the checklist feature where you can always ensure that whatever you are filing is accurate and has been checked using the 19 checks that we have developed in-house. I'll go back to the prepare flow. Now, we were on the review GSTR-9 page. Here again, you will see those observations appear. Now, when you click on next, you will start seeing the form appear fully. So this is the form. Part 1 of the form, of course, is basic details, non-editable. Part 2 of the form is the details of tax liability, which you have declared during the financial year. So this has outward supply as well as inward supply in table 4G. Now, again, just like all forms on ClearTax, this is an editable form. So you can, like the 1 lakh that we entered on Excel can be entered here. And when you enter, the calculation will change. Once you click on save, it will start reflecting everywhere. On the ClearTax page, all the checklist items will get refreshed and recalculated. Any issues that arise from you entering a figure here can be seen again. Now we have also enabled invoice level drill down of all of this. Let's say you're in 4B, you want to figure out where is this figure coming from. When you click on 4B, you will get an option. 4B is because of B2B regular supply. When you click here, it will open a page on ClearTax, which will show exactly where this 13 lakh rupees of outward supply that we've shown here, 13 lakh and 20,000 of outward supply that we've shown here is coming from. You'll see all of these bills listed down. You can download these invoices in Excel if you want. But importantly, this was again one of the features that we heard from our users, where they said that we've done the calculation here using GSTR-1. We've done a lot of auto calculated fields, etc. But users would want to validate how the calculation is coming up. So we've developed this feature where you can click on this, and when you click on this, the audit trail will be shown. When you click on those different options, you can go to a pre-filtered set of invoices which you can download in Excel and then work on. Now, the other aspects of the software remain the same. This table can be copy pasted. So for instance, if I'm working on Excel and I want to copy paste this part of Excel into ClearTax, I can copy from there and paste here. When I paste, these numbers get changed, right? And you can save them and go on. Now, the other option, thing, part 3 is where we do the calculation of ITC. Now, the part C asks for bifurcation of ITC between inputs, capital goods, and input services. Now, we do this bifurcation basis the returns that have been filed on ClearTax. So if you've been filing on ClearTax and you made this bifurcation using the claim ITC sheet in GSTR-3B, then that bifurcation already appears. In case you've not done this bifurcation, we by default put all amount into the input category, which you can obviously play around while on the sheet. This sheet, again, just like every other sheet on the software, you can double click, edit right here, and you can also copy paste from the Excel file or from any other source that you are using. If you go back on ITC, one more thing that we would like to point out is we've done auto calculation of uh, like table 8D, for instance. We highlight how is that coming from. Table 8A, again, we've done drill down of how table 8A answers are coming from the government portal, which you can look at using our multi-month GSTR-2A report. Part 4, where you have to declare taxes paid. This part is autofilled as in the government portal. Payable, obviously you can edit, and if you want to edit it, again, the option exists right here for you to edit things and move on. In part 5, we've heard a lot of users say that calculation for tables 10 and 11 is difficult. So we've always had the feature where tables 10 and 11 were auto calculated on ClearTax by comparing invoices that you filed in 17-18 and invoices that you filed pertaining to 17-18 and 18-19. So when we download data for filing GSTR-9, we download data for the entire 21-month period from July 17 to March 19. And using that data that we downloaded, we auto compute tables 10 and 11. Now there, the feature that we've enabled here is very similar to on table 4. So when you click on table 10 here or table 11 here, a pop-up will open up. From there, you can go into invoice level details into exactly how 10 and 11 are coming up. Those things you can also download as Excel, as we said before, and you can keep them in a safe folder for yourself for future reference. All of these tables, just so you know, have a notes column as well. So here, if you want to create a note that no such invoice is found, you can create this note and save it. Now this note will continue to be saved on ClearTax, and you can again refer this later in case there is any need for you to refer back to past filings for a particular client. Tables 15, 16, of course, you basis the refunds and the demands and the supplies received from composition, taxpayers, etc. That will need to be filled in by the taxpayer. Table 17, we auto compute. We've got this option here of HSN summary computation. We can compute from sales books or compute from GSTR-1 data. Both these options you can use whichever you want, and the table will be auto computed. Here the sales books have not been uploaded, but if you do it from GSTR-1 data, these values are all visible here. So you can also delete an HSN by clicking here if you want, or you can continue to add here just like any other table. You can double click, add information, or copy paste information from an Excel file. HSN summary of inward supplies. If you have uploaded purchase books, then there is an option to compute that summary using the purchase books directly. Here in this case, we've not updated, which is why currently it's coming as blank. But again, just like the sales figure above, if there are HSNs available in the purchase books, we will auto compute them. We will show options to the users to edit or delete items that are already added. And of course, the functionality of entering information or copy pasting information continues to stay. Now, once you're done with all of this, we'll give you multiple options here. If there is a net tax that is payable, then we have a guide here on how you can pay that tax using DRC03. We have an option to download the GSTR-9 form in JSON. If you want to download it in JSON and upload it on the government portal, you can do that. Or we have an option of ClearTax Assistant where this information will be automatically input into the government portal. So when you click on this file GSTR-9 button, it will take you to the government portal. It will log you in using the credentials that are saved, and it will go to GSTR-9 for 17-18 and start inputting all the fields that you have input into the relevant fields in the government portal. There is one additional feature that we would like to discuss today. That feature again has been recently launched basis the feedback that we got from users. That is the option of a basic mode in GSTR-9. So in this case, you will see that the data has already been downloaded for all 21 months for GSTR 1, 2A and 3B. But sometimes it could be that the data download is slow. It could be that it's a simple enough case where we don't need to get into invoice level details for GSTR 1 and 2A. So we've heard users say that we can compute GSTR-9 using just GSTR-9 and GSTR-3B. So we've enabled that here. Now, when you click on recompute GSTR-9, we give you two options: compute using GSTR-3B and 9. Now, when you're doing using 3B and 9, of course, tables 10 and 11 and 17, which come from the sales data, might not be fully computed. But all the other tables are calculated using GSTR-3B and GSTR-9. So if you do this, then it will show you the new form that has been computed using 3B and 9. However, in this case, you will see that a lot of these checklist items are not available. So in the other section, if you recall, we had 5 and 14, 19 checklist items, 5 important observations and 14 additional observations. In this section, now we have 3 important observations and 7 additional observations. So while some of the checklist items cannot be done without using GSTR 1 and 2A data, but there are certain checklist items that can be looked at and compared using just 3B and 9, and we do that in this basic flow. This, because we don't have 1 and 2A data, we also don't have an Excel download option. But you can proceed to filing from here and file if in case it's a simple client for which, as users had mentioned, the 1 and 2A data at an invoice level is probably not required for a quick filing. Now, if you go into this mode, but hey, you want to go back to that mode, there is an option to recompute GSTR-9 again using all data. GSTR-9 using 1, 2A, 3B, and 9. So when you do that, the full form becomes available. Excel option gets enabled again. And the checklist items or the observations are again 5 important observations and 14 additional observations. So at a summary level, right, what have we done? What have we improved using on our GSTR-9 software? One is that we have enabled a feature to download data using a desktop companion. You can install your desktop companion on any Windows device and use it to download data from the government portal. The second thing that we've improved is that we have launched audit trail or a calculation trail at an invoice level on the software itself. Now, we were providing some of these features already in the Excel, but we heard a lot of feedback from the users that they would like to see invoice level drill down on the software, and that we've enabled. As you can see, if you go to just recapping, if you go to table 4 and click on any of these items, you will see where this is coming from, and each of these links can take you to a pre-filtered list of invoices which using which the details have been computed. That list of invoices can be downloaded on Excel and can be saved for future reference. The other thing that we've launched is this basic mode, where if you just want to use recompute compute GSTR-9 using GSTR-3B filed and GSTR-9 that the government is auto generating, we can do that. For that, the data download will be faster. You will have slightly limited checklist items. You will have 10 checklist items instead of 19, but the entire process becomes a lot faster. If you want to go into details, we are not stopping you. You can anytime go to recompute GSTR-9 and calculate those details again using GSTR-1 and 2A data as well. It will take 20-25 minutes for download to happen. After that, all the checklist items will be enabled. The Excel feature will be enabled again, and you can go ahead and file using the ClearTax software. The next feature that we've launched is the sales reconciliation. Now, as I said before, users had requested that just like we have invoice level purchase and 2A reconciliation, users wanted R1 and sales reconciliation at an invoice level. So that has been enabled using an Excel form. This is how the Excel report looks like, and that is now being enabled, which can be output to CSV files for future reference. Lastly, what we've done is that we have enabled a feature where you can go and file. Instead, if you don't want to file right now, if you want to download JSON right now and then have someone look at it or file a little later, then we've enabled the option to download GSTR-9 JSON file. That JSON file will be downloaded on your desktop. You can choose to upload it on the government portal, and from there carry on the process of filing. Yeah, that is what we intended to cover during the webinar. That covers the GSTR-9 renewed features on ClearTax. Thank you so much for joining us for the webinar. My name is Sohil Bhagat. I'm a product expert at ClearTax. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to our ClearTax YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you.